You want to bet? Bet on what?
I'll take that bet right on.
Welcome back into Wanna Bet. This is episode 3, and I'm your host, Matthias. We are going to do a quick summary of Week 1 college football. If you have no interest in this, I will put a timestamp in the bottom. We're going to do a little bit of an early look at the Week 2 lines. I know Circa posted yesterday, which was Monday, probably around 2 or 3 o'clock Central, some of their early lines. A lot of books take what the sharp books, such as Circa, are saying and copy them a little bit. And then once public money starts rolling in, that's when that algorithm kind of kicks out adjustments in the line to increase the handle for every sports book. So real quick, I'm going to summarize our Week 1 performance, and then we're going to go ahead and shift into what are some early looks for Week 2 matchups we like. I haven't paid much attention to them yet, so you're going to be sitting with me here going through these for the first time. So bear with me if it's a little bit chunky at first, but we'll go ahead and dive into these. Week 1 college football, successful weekend against the spread. We ended up going 12-6. We had 2 losses as well, bringing us to 12-8. Those 2 losses were a half unit money line live bet, one of which was on Virginia Tech, yuck. The second of which was on Florida State, double yuck. The only game against the spread I laid multiple units on was Florida State. Unfortunately, I put 1.5 down. I was very confident they were going to come out and play like a competent football team. And quite frankly, their season's absolutely cooked. You're 0-2, both double-digit favorites. I know one of which was at home, one of which was all the way halfway across the globe, but terrible look for Florida State. I got absolutely hammered on TikTok. Usually I average like a couple hundred views on all my videos on TikTok. I posted just before the game our stats so far, which were 12-6, not bad. And then I posted my pick for last night's game, which was Florida State laying 16.5. And it absolutely exploded and it has 20,000 views and a bunch of comments, people telling me to jump off a bridge, so on and so forth. And that's okay because that's what the internet is. So with sports betting, keep in mind, we had a very successful weekend where we went up. What did we go up this weekend? A couple units. So we were up 4.6 units over the weekend. You're going to have these. You're going to have the complete inverse of that. You could just as easily go 4 or 5 units in the hole. So if you're betting prominently, laying 10 cents juice. So if you're betting 110 splits, you need to win about 53 point change percentage of your bets just to break even. So really, if you're trying to make money in the long run, sports betting, honestly, you got to be hitting that 55% would be ideal. Higher would be incredible, but that's a very hard thing to do. So if you're making, if you're winning 55% of your wagers and you're reinvesting your earnings back into your bankroll, long term, you are going to start to see a growth curve as far as your income from sports betting goes. So never get too high, never get too low. Like I said, great weekend for us, but next weekend it could just as easily inverse, and then we're just starting from square one. So a couple games to hit on. This was our report card from last week. We lost the Florida State laying 16.5. We won Georgia Tech laying 21.5. We lost Charlotte getting 6.5. We won Fresno State getting 21.5. Hawaii covered for us 14. Troy lost laying 8.5. Nevada Wolfpack might be a decent football team. Hand up, that's my bad. North Texas laying 5.5 cashed. Gators getting 3 points, absolute loss. Ohio getting 18-1. Nebraska laying 27.5 was an easy win. Virginia Tech, which was terrible, laying 13, lost. Georgia covered, laying 13.5. Oklahoma on Friday night laying 41.5 cashed. And then Thursday night's action, Utah minus 38-1, as well as North Dakota State plus 11. And then we also lost Jackson State getting 6.5 points. So all in all, pretty good week 1. Really, there was not a whole lot of sweating stuff out as far as losers go. We either lost really big, or some of them, the Michigan-Fresno State game, the Oklahoma game, did need a little bit of things to go our way towards the tail end. But that's why we wait, and that's why we search these websites throughout the day to try and figure out what benefits can we get in our favor as far as line movements, for juice, for spread totals, for over-under totals, all that stuff. One of the games that I completely missed on so far, I would have loved to have grabbed Texas when they opened. I think they opened it laying 3 points going to Michigan this weekend. It's gotten peppered up like crazy. So right now it's sitting at 7.5. I'm off this game. If you like Michigan, then you might want to wait a few more days. This number might go up even more. If you like Texas, you missed your number. 4.5 points is way too much for me to be missing out on as far as getting the best number. Could Texas win by 10? Sure, they could, but I'm not going to lay the points with a game in Michigan at the Big House. A little too much for me. Some other games of note. There's some reports as far as like the sharp money coming in is already out. And what this is just a kind of a roadmap to see where the professional handicappers have been betting. So a perfect example of this is Kansas State at Tulane. Kansas State is a 10-point favorite, and there's a 49-point total. Right now, there is 23% of bets, but 45% of the money are on the under. So that actually brought the total from 50 down to 49. So when you see that 23% of the bets account for almost half the total money coming in, it means there's some guys laying some serious wagers out there, which we would call a sharp better. So I like looking at all those. I'll run through a few that are highlighted here, and then we'll take all this stuff, digest it tonight, compare our handicapping system along with some pretty respectable bettors that do post their own handicaps as well as power rankings. So I'm going to take all that info, write it down on a notebook, and then I'm going to go through game by game. And also, you have to go through the box scores from last week. Here's a perfect example: Oregon. So Oregon barely squeaked out a win against Idaho, I believe, last weekend. I think they were a 44 to 49 point favorite, somewhere in that. And they won what? What was the final score of this game? Bear with me, everyone. Sorry. Oregon versus Idaho. What was it? A one-score game? 24 to 14. So they won by 10, and I believe that game was tied going into the fourth quarter. Oregon laying 44 plus points to win by 10. That seems a little weird. But then you dive into the box score, and Oregon's quarterback, he absolutely went off. So that's why I was pretty confused by things. So Oregon's quarterback, Dylan Gabriel, 41 of 49, 380 yards, only 2 touchdowns. Now, Dan Lanning went for it a few times in the red zone instead of kicking field goals. I mean, the Ducks kind of went off, and then it didn't account for points. So you look at that, and then you go and start to look at the lines on Oregon. This game opened up, so Oregon is hosting Boise State. Boise State had a pretty good game last weekend. Their running back had, 6 touchdowns and 300 yards on the ground. Boise State played well on offense. Their defense was atrocious. That game became a shootout with Southern Georgia, I believe. So Oregon right now, they opened up at 21-point favorites. Now you can get them at 18.5. So that's what I'm looking for, is those line movements. Where can we extract a little bit of value out of? Oregon's a team I'm probably going to be on this week. 18.5. Not a very scary number as far as keys go. And when I say key numbers, I mean 3, 7, 10, 13, 14, 17, 21. In football, you have predominantly 3s, 7s, and the occasional 2-point conversion, and then the occasional missed extra point. So getting off those key numbers gives you huge value. If you have a line that's closing at 3 and you can get it somewhere at 2.5, well, if the game winning score is a field goal, then you push your bet, so you get your money back. If you had it at 2.5, then it cashes. So that hook is very, very important to keep an eye on. So another game where sharp money is coming in: Arkansas at Oklahoma State. So the over is receiving 55% of bets, but 86% of the dollars spent. So sharp money coming in on the over for Arkansas at the Oklahoma State team this weekend. So again, we're going to digest these, do our own, and do your own research as well. There's, just tailing someone's picks is never the right thing to do, because how these lines get set, I know there's a common misconception that there's just like a group of MIT nerds sitting in the basement at Caesar's Palace, and all they do is like compare all these really long algorithms. That's not how it goes at all. So are there some of those nerds out there? And I'm not ripping nerds, I'm a nerd as well. Are they out there? Sure, they are, but they cost a lot of money to employ, and they also don't keep an eye on the games like professional sports bettors as well as fans do. Fans account for massive dollars every single weekend coming into, sports betting. So those lines are usually based off of an algorithm that kicks out what they think would get close to even action on both sides. And when that number is posted by a sharp book like Circa Sports, all the other books will tend to either copy that or take it, maybe add their own math to it, add or subtract from those totals. After that, you guys, being the betters, you are the ones that shift these lines. So if we have 90% of money come in within an hour for this Texas versus Michigan game where it opens up at 3, and then boom, in an hour it's gone. You can't find it. It was up to 4.5, 5, boom, now all the way up to 7.5. So the sports bettor controls a massive, massive chunk of that pie as far as the movement goes. So we're going to go through, research this. Tomorrow evening, we'll record a new video and have it out. So today is Tuesday the 3rd. Tomorrow night, which is Wednesday the 4th, we'll post a video for our week 1 college best bets. We'll try and put 4 or 5 best bets in there, and then we'll post our entire card for the weekend. Follow us on Twitter and Juice Reel if you want to get the up-to-date action, because come Friday, come Saturday morning, if we have enough of a line move where we can gain an advantage, if we see like a real small hold percentage as we're comparing lines, we'll post those on Twitter or Juice Reel. That way you're up to date with all that stuff. So thank you for watching. We'll dive into this, and we will see you tomorrow.